Namaste Pisces. This is going to be your Valentine's reading. I usually don't put so much emphasis on Valentine's Day, and I don't think I've ever done a Valentine's reading in all my years on YouTube, to be honest with you. Certainly not like this, but because Valentine's Day is falling on a Friday, and so it's more of like a whole weekend, and also because I had been seeing all kinds of things for couples and for people in general around this period that I started talking about a couple months ago. And I said things, like culminating in sort of mid February, and probably by like on or around the 11th, which is today, the day on which I'm recording this. It's another reason why I wanted to do this. But some of us have like President's Week and stuff off next week from school or work or whatever it is we do. And so people could be going into a long weekend, or again, even a full week, and taking some vacations. So I said, and then Mercury retrograde starts 2 days after Valentine's Day. And so like you may be up all, high in the clouds for Valentine's Day, and then fall flat when Mercury retrograde comes around. And, so sort of that like stop and go energy, like we were doing so well. And then now what? We're out of contact, and that kind of thing can start to happen. So I said, let me do a reading. And I decided to do it like couples, singles, it's complicated, and everybody. So I'm doing, my square spread of 4, but with those 3 categories or 4 categories in mind specifically, and starting with the 6 of water or 6 of cups, which itself in terms of love can be about soulmate relationships, soulmate connections, and or the return of like an ex or somebody from our past with whom we may want to develop a relationship. Sometimes when this card comes up, people will remind us that exes are exes for a reason, but that's not always true. I mean, I myself have an ex, like from whom I was separated by circumstance, not because I got angry or he got angry, or we were necessarily toxic together. I mean, we may have been, but it was kind of like neither here nor there as it relates to why we're not together, or why we ceased to be together a long time ago. I was separated by the military from, my children's father, the man I married. So there can be stuff like that. It's not always like we're separated or we're apart or we're ending our relationship because we don't get along. Sometimes stuff happens too. So this can be somebody coming back, whatever the case was, and you need to decide if it's like, one of those people to whom exes are exes for a reason applies, or it's not. That'll be up to you. Also, when this card shows up, it can say like we need to get refocused. Like we're spending too much time thinking about the past. So for like, say for a single, you could be thinking, like really focused on an ex, or a particular type of relationship, or an experience from the past, or the way your parents raised you, the way their relationship was, and just focusing too much on. It's basically like fantasy, but it's like ghosts of fantasy, not even reality in terms of your past necessarily. It could just be like the way you remember stuff, and not necessarily the way things actually happen. So this card shows up to remind us that we need to like really focus on the future, and setting goals, and having dreams that are ahead of us, not behind us. Trying new things, maybe new ways to meet new people, new hobbies and interests, and that can open us up to like a whole new world of different things too. And also may mean like the reappearance of some old, I don't know, fling or flame or something. Speaking of flames, maybe that's exactly who's coming to you. Right next to that, we have Eternal Flame. And these cards I promise you, I shuffled them many, many times. And I cut them not only into 6 like I normally like to do, but this time I went for 9. I was in the mood to cut into 9, and so I really mixed them up. But these cards came up to kind of together in the last reading that I did too, which was for the sign of Aquarius. Some of you may be Cuspians, or maybe you are Pisces who's dealing with an Aquarius, or vice versa, or Sun, Moon, and Rising sign combinations. Aquarius and Pisces. And that may be why perhaps, similar energy is coming up. But both of you with these 2 fire energies, and one that's called Eternal Flame, which for me is a reminder of like the depth of a relationship and real soul connections. And that a lot of the other stuff that we get, upset about and twisted up in and, confused by and focused on is superficial and not very important. Sometimes we just need to take some time and space to ourselves. Even if we are in a committed relationship, sometimes we even need to fall back from each other, even if that just means like for a moment, an hour, a day, whatever it is. And, it's this card is a reminder that when we do that, even if we're in solitude, we're not alone, right? There's always support. Our ancestors, our guides, the universe, however, God, the angels, however you want to consider that. And when these two cards are together, for me, it's a reminder of, again, the depth of our connections. And so even if something is going on the surface and maybe we are separated or, maybe we never met in the first place, so we feel we're single and we're alone. So we feel that, there's some kind of disconnect, but at the same time, there's like a fire in our belly and in our heart that we know that somebody's out there for us. There is a love that awaits us. And a spiritual connection that maybe we feel we connect to, again, in our most, personal and private moments of solitude. And it's like that spiritual connection, the Pentecostal dove. And, that is reason to celebrate the depth of these relationships. So these cards come up, to remind us of that. And, to say, again, even if we do, have a 3D connection and it's not where we want it or how we want it, there's deeper meaning and deeper connections at play that sort of like never go away. If they're real soulmate connections, they're real soulmate connections. These are not things that disappear. Can we have more than one soulmate in our life, or do we have more than one soulmate in our life and different types of soulmates? Absolutely. But the connections are tied at the soul level for a reason, and we don't erase them. They change, we evolve, relationships evolve, but they don't disappear, okay? And the next card is the King of Cups in reverse, and it's interesting, he's sitting here atop Major Arcana card, the Moon in reverse, which represents your sign and your energy and could very well, of course, therefore be a King of Cups, as in a Pisces in reverse. The Moon in reverse says not only that we don't necessarily know everything that's going on, but that it's very important we don't jump to conclusions in our relationship. And I think that takes us back to this thing about the depth of relationship. And I spent a lot of time on this for Aquarius too, because again, they had similar cards that came up. It's like on the surface, if something's happening, like don't let a moment dictate what's going to happen to you in your future and, and your connections and your relationship. Like don't let a moment ruin everything because you flew off the handle and you didn't know what the hell you were talking about. And now you've hurt your, partner's, feelings or potential partner. You've hurt their feelings. You've just ruined the chance of a relationship. Like be careful with that. If we don't, know what's going on, definitely use your intuition, follow your gut. Keep in mind that Mercury retrograde will be most affecting your sign as well as that of Gemini and Virgo. And so, if you're having weird thoughts or whatever, it could be because of that Mercury retrograde. And make sure that you don't confront anybody about anything if you don't have concrete information, right? It would be a mistake. It would be a mistake and maybe something that you can't take back. On a more positive note, the King of Cups on his own is a super romantic card, as is the King of Cups upright, of course. And he says that he may be somebody who is so like ready for love. They just want to like throw caution to the wind, like whatever. I'm ready. I'm all in. I'm ready to risk everything for, happiness, dreams, future, love. Like it's a super romantic card and he's like totally open. Again, this could be you, Pisces, but particularly with this moon, major arcana card moon right underneath him. Or maybe we got some water on water action and some of you are dealing with a Scorpio. And why do I say a Scorpio? Well, for one, this lobster, it kind of reminds me of a scorpion. And I'm feeling that, but also, again, in the Aquarius reading, and some of you may be cuspians or just, sharing some of that energy. Not only did air and water come up there, but very strongly, like air and Scorpio. Like one card even had a star on it, which represents the sign of Aquarius, and a butterfly on it, which for me was like speaking to the energy of Scorpio, and it was blue and white. So it's like the air and the water. So that's our overall energy, or those are our overall energies. Let's get into some more specifics. So one card for couples. I've been having to move this up, so let me just do that now in advance. One card for couples, one card for singles, one for it's complicated, and one for everybody. Just like a more general sort of energy. And again, with this in mind, the energy of the King of Cups, somebody that's just ready to risk it all for you and for themselves and for love. Okay. Couples. Your card. Ooh, okay. That wasn't really what I was hoping for, but we can deal with it. It's not the worst thing. This just means that somebody's dealing with something, somebody's going through something. And again, it might be because of Mercury retrograde, that you're just particularly emotional. You're already a water sign, so the water signs are definitely more known for being more in touch with their emotions and maybe even controlled or led by their emotions than the other signs. And Pisces is probably the most watery, intuitive, all of that, of all of those signs, all three of those signs. And on top of that, again, Mercury. So here's the swords, right? The swords from the energy of Mercury, the air, retrograding your sign. So when the three of swords shows up in reverse, first of all, it's better than the three of swords upright. But in terms of love, it doesn't have to mean like breakups or endings of relationships and stuff. It can just be misunderstandings. Maybe again, because somebody flew off the handle and, confronted their partner and didn't know what they were talking about and hurt their feelings unnecessarily. So definitely be careful of that. Because now that major arcana card, the moon in reverse, this has me like concerned. Misunderstandings, hurt, sadness in general, sorrow in general, maybe regret, resentment for something, or perhaps a relationship did recently end. I'm saying that this is for the couples, but like if you just broke up with somebody, you might not be, well, I'm single, people still consider themselves tied because again, there's that superficial part and that 3D part, and then there's the depths. There's that soul connection that you have. That's that heart connection that you have with the person. So if a relationship could have just come to an end, that's potential. But even that, I'm not really feeling this, necessarily strongly here that that's the case for people. This can also show up where we have a commitment, so we're in a committed relationship, but we just thought it would have moved along more. We thought it would have deepened more. We thought we'd be further along by now than we are. And maybe some of us are being really traditional and, thinking in terms of, it's Valentine's Day. I thought we'd get engaged or something like that. You're expecting something more to happen and it's not really, it's not there yet. It hasn't come together, if at all, in the way that you had hoped. So just when this card shows up, it just says, guide you to allow yourself to go through those emotions, but don't start like wallowing in self-pity and persecution and stuff like, and oh, woe is me and whatnot. Again, we all have more than one soulmate. So if it comes to that, there's, somebody else out there and maybe, again, somebody who's really going to give their all to you. And for others, this somebody who's ready to give their all is your person, but maybe there's a delay in between. And perhaps that is because of Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde, Mercury itself controls communication, electronics, travel. There could be so many different reasons or combinations of reasons of why Mercury is affecting your relationship's ability to move forward. So there may be some delay, and you may have to wait until that first week of March. I think it's March 9th. There could be other reasons why March 9th is in my head, because it represents other things. March 9th, for example, is Ghostface Killer's birthday. Don't ask why I know that. And so that could be why it's in my head. I know some people are going to Google and they're going to go, yeah, it really is Ghostface Killer's birthday. Yes, it is. It's one of my clients, supporters, viewers, Taylor. It's her birthday too. Oh no, I'm sorry. She's May 9th. She's May 9th. She's a Taurus. Wait. Oh yeah, Ghostface is May 9th too. March 9th is also something. Oh, is that the anniversary of Biggie's death? See, don't mind me. I do this. In any case, I think the other reason why it's in my head is that it's the day that Mercury goes retrograde. But even then, there is that shadow period, right? And so, for some of us, we might not just spring right back into action. It may take us until like April before things are right. And I actually have a couple of clients that are getting married in April. Like they already planned their weddings in April. That was probably the universe guiding them to bypass all of this funky energy in between, Yeah. I'm not so sure if it's Mercury retrograde goes direct on March 9th, but it is absolutely the anniversary of Biggie's death, March 9th, 1997. Okay, that you can Google. And you can also Google that Ghostface Killer's birthday is May 9th. And Taylor, you might not be able to Google her, but I promise you hers is too. Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember this. I give up. Yeah. I was like being silly with what I do remember because I was really trying to remember when Mercury goes direct. I cannot remember. But it's like the second week of March. But again, in any case, it's going to be in shadow. So it's, for some of us, it still might not be perfect. We might have to wait we might want to wait till April. Anyway, moving on to the singles. Okay. You guys are being affected by the swords or air too. I really do think this is Mercury. And it makes sense. It's stationed in your sign. It's in your energy right now. Yes, it goes retrograde on the 16th, but it's already in Pisces. So you could already be dealing with this. But also this reading is, again, more specific to next week. Try to pick up the energy of next week. So your card is not horrible either, though, singles. The Nine of Swords in reverse. It's a card. It's weird because it's a card that it's air energy, Gemini. So it's in that energy of Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Again, Gemini ruled by Mercury. But it's a card in terms of love that's kind of about intuition too, and like paying attention to your gut feelings, like not overthinking stuff, not jumping to conclusions, like that moon in reverse, not just coming up with whole dream scenarios in your head and convincing yourself that it's the truth and then going after somebody and confronting them, with some bullshit. This is about you paying attention to your gut, right? Your intuitive feelings, not ignoring those, and following them, but certainly not being presumptuous as it relates to another person and, maybe attacking them for no reason. If you feel, though, in these gut feelings that something is not right with somebody you've met or a relationship that you've been trying to begin or somebody that's interested in you or in whom you're interested, single Pisceans, then you are very likely to be correct about that and may want to leave it alone. It doesn't mean you have to, again, go all, all out and say, that's it, never call me again or whatever, because I got a feeling in my stomach. No, but allow things to play out organically. Like, keep your distance, not trying to force distance, but if something's not coming together, don't try to force it together. Certainly, just allow it to play out, and maybe it wasn't meant to come together, or maybe it's not meant to come together again until the energy is more conducive to positivity. So allow it to do its own thing, right? You don't try to be the one to force it. If you've recently met somebody, or if you meet somebody during this period, similarly, don't try to force things to, move too fast. Don't be in too much of a hurry. Allow things to develop. Because then again, it might look like it's going to be a wonderful thing, and maybe it's not, or vice versa. It might look like this relationship, I'm not really interested. And this could be the person of your dreams. And again, the person that's going to throw everything, just completely risk it all for you and really be romantic and really in love with you, and perhaps an eternal flame and even a soulmate. So you never know until you allow it to play out. It's complicated. Ooh. Speaking of Scorpio, it is Major Arcana card Death. So I think that for some of you, this is showing up because, again, you're dealing with a Scorpio. This is water on water action. And that may be this person who's ready to risk everything for you. And there may be something that is coming back. If it's complicated, maybe that's, again, because you're separated or something. And so this is somebody who is returning to your life, perhaps a soulmate that's coming back. You'll have to decide, again, for yourself, if that's, an ex that you want to return, or if something that you want to die forever and never to rekindle. That's up to you. In addition to that, more specifically to what death means in terms of love, it can say that if you're like clinging to a relationship, or to a person, or to a type of person, a type of relationship, or like energies from the past relationship, you won't cut the cords even though it's dead, it's over. Just for the sake of you're afraid of, or for the reason of you're afraid of being alone, then that could be why death is showing up, to guide you to go ahead and to release it. If you have an actual relationship where this is happening, then you don't want to, of course, just throw away your relationship right away. But, you got emotion that you're dealing with. Share that with the other person to the extent that they allow you. Sometimes people block you out because they're dealing with something too. But if you can communicate it, like you make an attempt to communicate it and to fix it, to have like a really honest conversation about the relationship and your feelings. And if it can't change or won't change and they're not willing to do it with you, or they won't give you a chance to communicate, then it might be time to let the whole thing go. Right? So that could be why death is showing up. And, like not all relationships can be repaired. They're not all fixable. And change is definitely difficult, especially in terms of this. Like, again, even sometimes if we're in a bad relationship, it's like some of us would rather, like hold on, be in that bad relationship than have no relationship at all, have to be by ourselves. That's something, if you can, like muster up the bravery to step away from that relationship and to give yourself a chance and have the confidence that you'll be just fine without that relationship, or the security that it provides, or whatever. Because sometimes that's why we remain in shitty relationships, because they provide some sort of stability and or security for us. But you'll definitely find one that's a lot better for you if you can, find the strength, find it in your heart to release yourself from this one. Yeah, I think that's all I have for the It's Complicated. And for everyone, it is the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords fits in, this makes sense. Again, Mercurian energy is coming in, and specifically perhaps that of Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. That it could be why this Queen of Swords is showing up, but also she also represents the energy of Libra as well as that of Aquarius. Again, some of you may be Cuspians too. That could be another reason why this is showing up here. And for whatever reason, she is here. The Queen of Swords, in terms of love, reminds us not to push too hard. She can be very, very pushy, and she can chase people away and destroy relationships. That is why a bunch of us end up alone. We have a reputation of being cold and lacking feeling. Here's this butterfly, another butterfly. This again could be Scorpio. Cold and unfeeling and stuff. And, often people think that we don't want relationships. And that's not the case. It's like when we do want one, sometimes we want it so bad. We just like, we get too crazy. And, like we smother and we can destroy the relationship. There was a cartoon. I never can remember what the cartoon was, but it's like this big dog or bear or something. He's like a white or like an off-white color body with like red hair. And he had this little pal, sidekick. And he was like, I'm going to hug him and squeeze him and love him and all this stuff, and like almost suffocated the guy to death. And that's how the Queen of Swords can be. So it's just very important that you're not too forceful and again, trying to push the person or the energy or the relationship along. Allow things to play out, allow for real, genuine communication. And if there's no opportunity, just play it cool and let Mercury move through your sign and, get the hell out of the way, come March and April. This can also be representative of one's mother and or like mother-in-law or like, mother-like figure. They may be interfering and getting in the way of your relationship too. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily malicious and they want to do it. It could be completely inadvertent, and they might not mean it at all, but they could be screwing things up for you. So if that's the case and you find out that's happening, you're going to need to and want to set some boundaries. All right. That's your reading. I hope that you enjoyed it and find it helpful. If you did, then please, actually like it by hitting the like button or thumbs up button. Thumbs up, yes. And if you're not yet a subscriber, please consider becoming one by hitting both the subscribe button and the bell button so that you can hopefully get notifications if you like your own private reading or energy healing from me or merchandise or, to be a friend, follower. I don't really use that word. Any and all of that information on how to do all of that will be in the description box below. And I look forward to, talking to some of you guys in person, in person on Facebook or Instagram or something. Thanks again. Namaste.